Welcome to another TouchGrass podcast. Today we have Sumeet from Cypher, and today our main goal is to talk about venture studios, how to build one for builders and people who are allocating capital. Welcome to the show, Sumeet.
Thanks, KG. Thanks, Rachit, for having me over. Really excited for this conversation about like this me talking first time about Venture Studio on like a podcast or a platform. So would be good to share as much as I can and my journey along with that also.
100%. And to kind of start off, why don't you give a short intro about yourself,
Yeah.
your career, and like from your education itself?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short, but it's a very long journey. So my career started in TradFi. I started with JP Morgan doing equity research in tech, and that was my first intro into the tech world and see how the companies are built and what tech looks like. So after 5 years in research, I kind of got bored of it because it felt like a very dinosaur industry, which was on the dying side, especially research. And that at that time I was like 25, 26. I realized, okay, I have no clue how to build the companies, but I'm talking about financial models of these companies, I'm talking about future. So I wanted to kind of go in the operation mode. Then I joined a startup in Bangalore, India, as the first employee, scaled the company to almost 1.5 million users, and then the company got acquired by one of the biggest coaching or teaching institutes in India. Went for my MBA after that to NCR, which was an interesting experience. And then during NCR, I met one of my colleagues. Together, we started off a company as like a school project, which eventually thought, okay, let's somehow we have this is the time to do that. So we raised some fund from that also through NCR, put that into building product and scaled this company. Then COVID came and killed it. And then briefly joined like a family office in Singapore where I was helping them investing into very frontier tech companies or frontier tech industries like lab meat, genetics, AI, and crypto. And crypto was something that I really closely associated with because it felt like a natural progression to where internet is going. So did my deep dive into 2021, 2020 into crypto. Came to Dubai while I was working with them. Came across Cypher. They were building their team. So joined Cypher as one of the first like earliest employees over there, and have been working with Cypher for past 2.5 years, since 22 25 actually. Now 3 years. And just last year, in mid of last year, started off this venture studio, which is again backed by Cypher, and have been really seen like the investment side, and now enjoying the building part of crypto at Cypher and associate with Cypher.
Yeah. KG, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to cut the conversation in the first one. Sumit, you said you did an MBA from INSEAD. I'm very fascinated by this conversation because I see a lot of people like recruiters. I see a lot of people who've done MBAs be like, you don't need an MBA in crypto. How was your experience like, going to INSEAD, like, one of the top colleges in the world? Do you think that's helped your career in crypto in any way?
I have a very, I mean, if people go to MBA for jobs, for getting a job, I think that's a very narrow mindset. I think MBAs is typically, you don't do MBA for the immediate next 5 years. I think it's more for the next 50 years. And the reason why, I'll tell you the reason why I did MBA. I studied in India in one of the biggest, like the one of the best schools in India called IIT Kharagpur. So I had a very good network on all India. I could open doors and things could unlock. But I felt that okay, the world is much bigger and the world is getting much bigger as we grow. And that time I realized that global MBA is something that would help me understand, the where the world is heading towards. So that was my reason to go to MBA. And when I went to MBA, my mindset was that okay, I know what I want to do. I know what I don't want to do. I was clear that I don't want to go to consulting, but I was clear that I want to go into like tech or venture, which is where my heart lies into. And then during that 1 year of journey, 1.5 year of journey, I met so many people who came from different backgrounds that clearly opened my view that okay, I mean, finance is not the only world. People came there from like business background. There was a like one of my classmates was Lacoste family kind of air. Other classmate was like an Air Force pilot in Israel. Then there were so many interesting people who you meet, and then when you talk to them, you realize the world is much bigger. So if people want to do MBA just for the career growth, that's a very narrow way of looking into it, because just by meeting these people, talking to people, you realize the world is much bigger. And talking about like my MBA helped me get my, I would say it, I mean, you look at past as destiny. You look at past, okay, this happened because of this and this happened because of this. So my NCR MBA came, and then I was able to do startup. After that, I was able to join a family office, for which my MBA was helpful. But after that, in crypto, I think MBA generally has not been kind of, I mean, you don't learn anything in MBA apart from just, talking in big words, like which is usually used in McKinsey or BCG. But in crypto, it's more general. Like that's what I love about crypto, is like it's so candid that if you put a fake face, people will just make out. So rather, what I realized was I could talk to anyone from Brazil and New York, and in way they are talking into. So it's more personal growth for me. And I think in crypto that helps, like building this personal connection, to know what to talk to someone, and having things in mind that when I talk to a person who is from Brazil, I can relate to him that, okay, one of my roommate was from Brazil, from this area, and that's make a conversation starter. And after that, it all depends on what you want out of the conversation and how you kind of take the conversation ahead. So personally, I would say it helps a lot. And professionally, I would again say, if people want to do MBA for getting a job in BCG McKinsey, then go for it. But if you are going an MBA then looking for a job in crypto, maybe something you need to think about, okay, what do I want out of it? So that's the
Yeah.
clear perspective we need to have.
So that makes sense. And I've been thinking a lot about this. I think as a lot more TradFi starts coming into the space, like
Yeah.
BlackRock, Apollo, do you think when these guys will think about hiring, like they probably won't index more on the crypto native side? Like they will probably want to hire an MBA who has TradFi experience, who knows a little bit about crypto? Like, have you had those conversations with any TradFi guys?
I think it depends. So typically, TradFi people. So okay, the reason why TradFi people liked MBAs, because they were all MBAs. Like people who were in BlackRock or BCG, McKinsey, they were all ex BCG, ex McKinsey. So they know MBAs can slog their asses off and work for 12, 13 hours, 14 hours without any without any issues. And now you see that in crypto, without, like, people just work without, because they love working crypto. So I think it's more about what kind of people who are the first generation of crypto in this BlackRock and Fidelity and all this. So if you see them, look at their profile and see what they hire. In the end, I think crypto, for me, like my personal experience with crypto has been that it's a very candid industry, where there's people don't like to make powerpoints, people don't like to shit talk, or people don't like to kind of make just words for the sake of it. It's a very tech first industry, so I think that really helps. So if someone's coming from a tech background, have some level of understanding of how business works, then I think it works. And business understanding is much more critical, and that's why actually people prefer MBA, because they can see the whole picture. They see a 5 year, 10 year view rather than a 6 months, 8 months view. So MBA is good, but I don't think it will be essential. And I have seen people from, like, JP Morgan has a big crypto arm, and you have seen people who have worked in JP Morgan in crypto arm, but they don't have any MBAs. Maybe they are chartered accountants, or maybe they are, like, have first entry into crypto. So I think that will be the more key requirement rather than having an MBA. Again, it will depend on what the first generation of this BlackRock Fidelity guys are, and then you'll see if that is needed or that is not needed.
Makes sense. I think probably the takeaway here is, if you get an MBA, don't do it for you're gonna get a bump in salary or stuff like
Yeah,
that. You're gonna get to a position in terms of career. But especially in crypto, if you get an MBA, it can help you with deal with people on a global platform, because crypto is global. There's gonna be different types of people in the community. The users are different and from different demographics, so it can help you from that side. And you went from founder to student to working at a venture capital firm, and now you're kind of starting your own venture studio. So, what's the thought process behind starting your own venture studio? How did that come about? What are the things that led you to think that I'm going to go a different route than being a traditional VC?
yeah. Yeah, very interesting question. I keep asking myself that how did I end up here? But I think the journey is, I mean, it's just following your heart. Like in my heart, I'm still like, I still want to take risk and build products. So that has been the journey. Like equity research, 5 years gave me very good kind of, scaffolding to try out different things, and have a very good base or safety net, if you call it. Then adding to that MBA and my experience over there, I realized that, building business it's not that hard. It is hard, but it's not impossible. It's not like something that only few people can do. And that's when I realized that, okay, if XYZ person can do it, then so can I, because I have got all the skill set in me. And the reason why I went to family office was, and eventually to crypto also, was because when I joined the family office, then also Cypher, I didn't have any detailed knowledge about crypto. And being in a VC for 2.5, 3 years gave me like a very 30,000 feet overview of what is crypto, what are the gaps in crypto, where and what kind of skill set are required to fill that gaps, and what needs to happen. So as always, as a VC also, I always kind of put on my founder's hat whenever I invested in a company. And I think it was more organic because sooner or later I wanted to go into building side. And venture studio came very, very uniquely, like a very unique opportunity that, me and my co-founder was Max, who was the tech lead in Cypher, like who helped us with tech DD and CTO of Cypher, sort of. We kind of jammed and we made a very good team. Then we ideated a lot of things. Then we came across one idea we wanted to build. We took it to our like founder of Cypher and chairman of Cypher, that okay, we want to build this. We can either kind of go out and build it, or if Cypher wants to invest in it, we are happy to do so. Then conversation led to, okay, why don't you kind of create a studio and build it in Cypher. Then we thought, okay, I mean, that's not a bad deal. We have backing of Cypher, we have complete autonomy on building of things. We can create things and we can actually scale that up in different things. And being a founder is always about taking and mitigating risk. So this in a way was a risk mitigation also, because if we get our own structure of a studio, we have our own ideas over there, and then we can, with the team, with the backing of Cypher, with the team that we can get along with Cypher, we can leverage that kind of network also. And I mean, again, like one more thing, as a founder, you should think of it what kind of network you have, which is where the MBA also comes into play. Because founding, if you have a good network, you can actually foresee a lot of problems that you will face down the line. So having said that, that actually was one of the decision why we thought of, rather than spinning it off, rather than going out of Cypher, it just built it inside Cypher, because Cypher has a wide network and I can leverage it being a founder. And that's what gave birth to the venture studio. The idea we pitched to Cypher was that, okay, we'll be kind of, building fast, failing fast. And if something scales, we'll double down on that. And eventually we create a team that can autonomously run that. And then we move on to next and next and next. So the idea was always to innovate and build on space. Then serendipitously, the team we built was very consumer focused. It is very consumer focused. So the team and the ideas have always been around consumer, because I think that's a big problem. Like if you see crypto, Twitter is a very small space, but the world is a big space, right? So people build it for crypto Twitter only, but the idea we kind of we thought of and we wanted to build off was for the broader audience, which is going to come in crypto rather than which are already in crypto. So that's why all the ideas have been more kind of easy UI, easy kind of wallet creation, doesn't feel like crypto, and it's like a very web to app also.
Yeah. Before we dive into the theme of your venture studio, I had a quick follow up to that. Do all people who start venture studios, is a common trait that they've been a founder before and then they start a venture studio, or is it someone like, because what I'm asking is someone who doesn't have all those experiences,
Yeah.
really from a product standpoint or building distribution. Is that a common trait that they're a founder first and then they decide to start a venture studio?
I think it, I mean, I don't have a clear answer for that, because I mean, there's no, I mean, see, my belief is, and it's very contrarian belief, that founder word has been, we have added a lot of hype into it. We have added a lot of, factor to it, which is not really it. I mean, I see you and KG and you and Rachit as a founder also. And I think it's more of the mindset that you have that, okay, if I have a problem, how can I solve it? That's the only thing that you need as founder. Okay, this is the problem, how will I solve it? And eventually, no founder is perfect. You learn along the way. And I think maybe third or fourth or fifth idea, you will have that, okay, this is the one for me. So founder is the one who is willing to take the risk and who knows, who can actually maybe foresee or execute. I think more than founders, or more than the word founder, I would call it more for someone who can execute, or a like executor, rather than just strategizer. Someone who can get their hand dirty, and if needed they can spam on Twitter, if needed they can cold call, if needed they can just walk on and talk to random people. It's just more about the mentality that you have, that okay, this is my business, or this is, I have $1, I need to make $2 out of it. That's it. I mean, that's all you need. as a founder. So the whole of, in Hindi we call it hawa, and in English it's more like hype, and just the word, the glorification of the word. I think it's just overused. Like, you need to have the founder mentality. You need to do hustle and grit and all that. I think in the end, you
Yeah.
just need to follow your own heart. That okay, this is what I need to do. This is how I will do it. Call me founder, call me whatever you like it, but this is my business and this is my way of working. So as long as you
Yeah.
have that kind of willingness to do things, you just do it.
I think I have a very interesting insight to that. When I talk to my friends, like Instagram Reels came about in 2020. I started college in 2018. And, like after third year, like 2021, we started looking at those motivational reels and we would get up and we'd be like super hyped. And like the common trend amongst our friends was like, bro, if Instagram Reels launched like 2 years ago, we probably would have been like this in our first two
Yeah,
years of our college as well. And that sort of content consumption has led to so many people getting into that mindset. I think
yeah,
that's one thing that people forget. But so okay, so you went to the chairman of Cypher. You were like, hey, we want to build this product, you and Max. It was, I think it was also fortunate that you found like your
yeah,
co-founder within Cypher. Talk to me a little bit about, if someone's starting a venture studio, how should they think about fundraising?
mhm,
I've seen venture studios who raise by per product. You obviously had the backing of your parent org or like original
mhm,
company Cypher. How is that structured? What is the ideal way to structure that?
yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think structuring wise, I mean, we are at the journey where we are still figuring out. But what we have kind of inside Cypher, inside Studio, what we have built the structure as that. Okay, we will think of product first and then the studio later. So the team we have built is for, like, okay, sorry, the other way. We have built the team for the studio, and within the studio, the team is more versatile. So they are like the people we have hired in tech team. They are more generalists. They are not Solana experts. They are not Ethereum expert. They are okay computer scientist, or someone who can build front ends, web to front ends, or someone who has done design work. So these are very generalists who are eager to learn. I think you need to build that team and mindset from the beginning, that okay, the team has to be very general rather than product specific. So that is one. Second is, if you are building a venture studio, I would say don't think of it as a venture studio, because what we are also thinking is, okay, we build products. If the product becomes successful, we scale it up. If they don't, then we go back to a chalkboard, we think of more ideas, and we kind of ideating more. So what me and Max do, kind of every week we set aside 2 hours between two of us, or maybe adding one more member of team, just to ideate, okay, what's next, what are we thinking of, where is currently we are building vibes, so where is vibes headed to, what are the potential hurdle that we might come across, and what if it does not work. So we always think of what if it does not work, then how do we use the same tech and use that for some other things also. I think that's where building tech, or building a generalist tech, also becomes important, because like with Vibes is essentially like a web3 wallet with a very beautiful interface. So this wallet currently we are using for Vibes, but the same tech can be used for different products down the line. So the idea behind, like, if you are building a studio, it's more about building generic techs which can be used for different products. And on top of it, in the end, it's about distribution. So we tried building distribution with our previous product, which was Dropness or Nestlayer, which was around like making staking easy. And then we moved to Vibes, which is more of a web B2C product, and the distribution will be completely different for that, because earlier was DeFi, now it's SocialFi, or generally normie kind of tech. So what our thinking is, if you are able to build a solid distribution with Vibes, in the end it's about building distribution. So if you are able to get to audience, build a strong community which who believe in us, then we can actually sell them multiple products rather than just one product. So I
Yeah.
think distribution first mentality is what we are building the studio for, and that is what we are going to leverage with all our products down the line.
No, that makes sense. Okay, so you had Nestler, which was more staking
Yeah,
yield
yeah.
product, and then you had Vibes, which is like more consumer focused.
Mhm.
Buying memes, easy for anyone. I'll actually give you an interesting way to combine both of them,
Yeah, yeah.
and that might be interesting for you. So, what you do is you take
Is there
Nestler
a
and
is
you.
there a wormhole pitch coming in?
No, no, there's not a wormhole pitch coming in. The beauty about wormhole is I could pitch it into anything, but I'm not going to pitch that right now. So what you do is you take Nest layer and
Mhm.
then you you give people future yield on what they sort of
Yes.
invest into. So let's say
Yeah, yeah.
they stake ETH, they're at 4%. You give that 4% as like future yield, and then you let them ape into meme coins on
Yeah.
vibes. And like, since 99% of people typically lose money trading meme coins, they'll be locked into Nest a lot more because they've lost the yield already. And if they need to unstake and go away, like, you make that money plus a platform fee.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's really interesting. I think, you know what's really interesting, Sumit, to me is that this sort of idea, if you go out and pitch to a VC with a deck, it's probably really
Mhm.
hard to get funding because VCs really think in cycles and in narratives. But for a venture studio, for instance, this is the kind of products that you guys actually want to build because you don't have that pressure, or
Yeah.
you already have a backing, and it's more about how you maximize narratives rather than, okay, we're going to build this product for the next 10 years. What do we
Yeah.
do and how do we get funding for it?
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind, like, how does your team come up with like product inspiration? I think our listeners would really find value in, how did you come up with Nest, and how did you
Mhm.
come up with Vibes? Like, what was the
Yeah.
internal thought process?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
like your process of approval, for
Yeah.
instance?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I think Nest was very organic because we were seeing at that time, I think the narrative around restaking was really picking up really hot. Like this was last, I would say August or even before that, maybe March, when we ideated Nestle. And the idea was, okay, if all the people are building this, restaking protocols like mitosis, Karak, and EtherFi and Symbiotic, like how do normal people get access to it, and why is it so broken? So the idea was this journey is so broken that you have to put your ETH into different protocols at different times, maybe use different wallet for that. And then you are going for points. I mean, you need points for that. So consumer is doing because they need points. B2B is doing because they are promised some airdrop yield in a way, but that's also kind of, promise of points. So we thought, okay, let's aggregate this journey. It's a very broken journey. Rather, I would do it from one wallet and multiple stake it in multiple protocols, which will make my journey easy. So the idea was to make the journey easy for consumers and for B2B also, and to kind of collate it in one place so that you don't have to go to multiple places into to stake your protocols. So the thinking we have in studio is that, okay, can it make consumer journey easier by 10x? If so, then do it. If not, then let's not do it. So, and then we started building Dropnest, building Nest layer protocol as well. And then the whole airdrop kind of meta kind of died on us. So at that time, it was okay. We have built a beautiful product which is working. We have seen consumer using it. Maybe the timing is not correct. So that time we kind of scaled that down. We put our energy into thinking. Okay, let's put thinking mindset, and we see what we are good at. So we were good at building beautiful products. We were good at building easy UI. We are good at building maybe some sort of Twitter community. So where do we go from here? We went distribution first. Then okay, we want to do retail only. And retail, what is retail doing right now? So retail is either doing investing into top 50, top 20 tokens, or they are going into memes. And then we realize, okay, let's see the meme journey. Like, is the meme a fad, or is it going to be for there for a long time? Then we did an analysis on the whole meme market and realized, okay, meme are alive and meme will be alive till crypto is there, because the central belief around memes is get rich quickly and it's fun. So if we build a product around that, and if you're able to capture some of the volume. So I'll tell you one very interesting tidbit we got was the volume to market cap ratio of a meme coin is around 70 to 80%, and Bitcoin is 2%. So if you're able to capture and gain some, build a product which captures the 70 80%, that will help us build a sustainable model. That's how Vibes came into play. And Vibes journey was very interesting because we showed our, like, this was very kind of, serendipitously we got it because we showed our UI guy who is not from crypto the pump fund, and he said, okay, what the hell is this? Like, I can't even make sense of it. How do I find a meme coin to invest in? So that was the central question. Okay, how do we find a meme coin to invest in, and what is a meme coin? So then we talked to a lot of people in meme coin investment or creation. And the good meme coins guy, they always thought about content community first. So the idea was, okay, how do we bring content and community first rather than charts and pictures and all this, and filtering all this, which the LA Wave Cabal was doing. So we narrowed down, okay, like community and content are the king for meme coins, which will make the meme coin last longer rather than a short term. And that's how Vibes kind of came into play, that we need a single platform which gives you helps you browse memes and meme content like TikTok, which is a familiar kind of concept, and at the same time you have a fast one-click trading platform.
Yeah.
So that's how Vibe was built. So the idea was always, okay, let's look at industry first, find problems in the industry. Is the problem big enough for us to capture? And what are the key pillars of it to capture? So that's how Vibes came into play. And while building Vibes, the idea was, for Vibes we need to create a very easy to use wallet, so which has to be consumer friendly. And this wallet eventually like became the central piece. Okay, this piece of technology can be used for different products also. So it was
Yeah.
very organic journey. We didn't force anything. We didn't want it to become a venture studio. Like, we didn't think of building it for multiple products, but the tech was built in such a way that, and that's the advantage of using generalists, because they think of long term. They think of general products rather than only Solana specific. So currently Vibes is built for Solana, but can easily be scaled to any VM chain, like Bera chain, Abstract, or any Solar chain also. So this is the idea of how we are thinking about making Vibes a very general product rather than only Solana specific also.
Yeah, I think I agree regarding the memes point, and I think you recently posted a tweet saying meme coins, all the shit you're seeing right now, they are shit coins,
Yeah,
and the actual meme coins, they are here to stay. So
yeah,
I agree with you that that's never gonna, like, people, the greed is always gonna be there, and people,
yeah, yeah,
and when things gonna come back, people will still be interested in memes.
yeah,
Uh, and I found your distribution point really interesting. And I have seen this. I think you before talked about how uh, entrepreneurship, everyone going crazy about it. And there's this phase, and it still is very popular, where people build a community online. They turn that community, they offer a service. Maybe they start off as a freelancer, then they go into an agency, and then they build a software around it and kind of build their own company.
yeah,
So this kind of growing trend where people just focus on distribution, content, and community, that's kind of growing rapidly. And in crypto, it kind of feels the other way around, where it's just tech, and then they focus on the community. Is that like one of your principles that you venture studio? Like, let's just build distribution, and then we can just build products on top of this, that so that our survival rate and of these
yeah.
companies is very high.
Yeah, I think that was the learning when we were building Nest Layer, the DeFi product, that we focused on tech a lot and we didn't focus too much on distribution. And that is why the idea was for Vibes was, okay, let's just build a community first. That's why the first hires we did were like people who were in trenches like EV, who actually knew how to build a small community and how to kind of move people from one place to another, what motivates them, and how to build like a first 100 user base. I would say, I mean, the more important thing for a founder, for a team, is find the first 100 users for you, solve the problem for them, and then scale it. Because if you solve it for 100, then people in more or less are very similar. I mean, if you're able to solve the needs of 100 people, you easily can reach out to 10 million from that 100, because they are so much similar that you can actually solve for that. Now I think in crypto it's also, I mean, somewhat right for some companies, but good companies actually do community first. Like you see an example of Bera Chain. They are very community first. They are like super community first. Mega ETH is doing the same thing. Kaito did the same thing. So eventually, and that's true in Web 2 also. You build a solid distribution first, and then product kind of improves day by day. Like Cred was a good example. Cred was distribution first. Cred is the India-based startup. So they solved one problem and only one problem, and then from there they kind of keep scaling with different things also. I don't know how it's working now, but at that time when I was in India, it was like crazy hype for Cred. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the journey for every startup has to be the same: distribution first, then tech comes second.
So KOL arc first, then founder arc.
Yeah,
Well, I think, okay, KG, it's really interesting that you say that, because every reel or every TikTok that I see, it talks about how we're going to like this creator-led economy. But
yes,
if you look at crypto Twitter, like all the KOLs are still threaders, or they're still, like giving hot takes.
yeah,
Like in the next 2 years, I think these KOLs will move towards having their own teams, and they'll build products like Ansem, for instance, with Bullfy,
hmm,
or Kobe
yeah,
with Echo. I think AI is going to play a really big part in that, where it's going to impact development cycles so much that these, even like, like, okay, I'll talk about myself. We do so many creative things. I am now able to use ChatGPT and give creative ideas
Yeah,
to my team. Similarly, KOLs will be able to visualize products and then hire teams.
mhm.
Sumit, is that something that's really helped you guys internally, also like
Yeah.
your tech team, like using AI
I
to
think it
improve
helps
development
in.
cycles?
Yeah, it really helps in making things faster. I mean, it's rather than, because like my CTO and the team, they actually use AI for all the menial tasks which they don't want to build code for because it's very easy to do. But for everything which requires innovation, which requires talking to 3 4 different APIs, making it very efficient, I don't think AI is there yet. As like, this is the take from my tech team, because like typically tech coders are against AI building codes because they've seen the code is shit. And what they realize is crypto is like very very early stage. So even like we connect with APIs of like BitQuery with I mean 5 or 6 different other API providers. So if we ask AI to build that, the whole build would be very non-scalable. I think the AI needs to think about how to build scalable product, and that is why I think AI is good in backend or maybe like very basic tech. But the bigger problem with crypto is front end and UI, which I think AI has long journey to do so, because before AI, we as founders, or we as just industry, we need to set like a clear standard of UI, because I don't think we have a, like in web 2 we have, okay, sign in with Apple and then you are in the app and that's it. With crypto, it's link one wallet, add some balance over there. If you want to transition, do XYZ. So I think that somehow Privy, who's our partner, has actually solved that for a long time, for in a very good way. But adding a layer of making it so easy for user, from the entry to the exit, that is very hard. And for that you actually need very good front end engineers, very good designers per se, which will make it appeal to users. AI can help in very small basic tasks, but building an app from ground
Yeah,
zero, and which is scalable also. I mean, building an app is fine, but building an app which won't let, if 100 user comes in, they won't crash. That's the hard part.
yeah. Do you, after AI sort of became part of the work stream, do you see your tech team sort of just vibe code something and be like, Sumit, we need to build a full scale of this? Is that also something that's sort of happening?
No, no, man. I think they typically, I mean, they all have ChatGPT subscription, and they use it only for this basic task. They don't think about, okay,
Got it.
can I build it through AI directly? Because I
Yeah.
mean, if you talk
I,
to any tech people, they will hate ChatGPT,
yeah.
because they know people have a perception that it can build apps, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, I'll give you a very interesting example. So, someone in our Wormhole India community, shout out Suryansh, he vibe coded this. Have you seen the plane game where there's like a plane game and they like it made like a lot of revenue? He actually built that for the Wormhole ecosystem where
Yeah.
the planes are actually like Wormhole ecosystem projects. And if
Oh,
you sort of touch any of the planes, you get redirected to the website. So, I think
nice.
vibe coding will probably change how people look at like grants and like initial
Yeah.
products. What do you think about, okay, so I think this is also a very interesting question for anyone listening. If there's someone like Suryansh, like not probably not the playing game, but like an upcoming builder who's in college who has a solid idea,
Mhm.
is there an opportunity for them to come pitch to you and be like, hey Sumit, I have this great idea, I don't have a team, it's just me,
Mhm.
you guys have the team, you guys have the distribution, I have the idea, why don't we build this together? Is that
Yeah.
also a possibility, opportunity? uh yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was the whole idea why we call it studio rather than just vibes, because the idea was, okay, once we are able to build, like, I mean, I'll tell you the honest idea. The thinking for us was, okay, we build the business side or operation side of things, and you just come with tech, or you just come with an idea and we build the tech for you also. So down the line, we want to scale our venture studio in that line, that okay, someone has an idea, we have the tech team to build it, we have the operations, we have the distribution, we have all the links that you need. And that is why I think adding Cypher as an anchor investor helps, because Cypher is invested in Sui, Berachain, many such products which are L1 like Peak, one and Deepin also. So if you have tech or idea for any such chain that you think would work over there, then we become the conduit for you. We help you build the operations around it, because in the end, a company is less tech and more distribution, right? So once we solve for distribution through Vibes or through any of our product, then the whole journey becomes easier to kind of cross sell to the same audience or the same community.
Yeah, I think as like a venture studio and a venture capital firm, like you're sort of in the intersection of that. I think it's probably a lot easier for you to get a pulse on these projects as well, because you have a
Yeah,
portco of ecosystems, you have a portco of taps as well, and then you have all these people who are pitching to you as well, and you're like, I am the middleman where I know what my ecosystems need, I know what my taps are probably lacking, and they're not listening to me as an investor. Like, let us just go out there and build.
yeah.
um ha- do product inspiration come, like, does it come out of that intersection as well?
Until now, it has not. But with Vibes, the idea is okay, we solve for the biggest chain, which is the biggest meme coin chain. Now, all the chains will have meme coin or they have meme coins already. The same tech can be used for Sui, which is our portco, then Bera chain, which is also our portco. So the idea will be to kind of spin off the same product with different chains so that they it can run on their own. We have the backend tech completely built on top of it. We can just change the UI in such a way that it becomes like a Bera specific product or a Sui specific product. But we don't want to go grant first. We want to go product first, and then okay, can we get grant from this product for different chains? So the idea has been, about in the end, I think chains also need users. So if with Vibes
Yeah.
we are able to show okay, we have a reach of 1 million user, 2 million users, and now we want to add chains. So what kind of grants can we get to put our efforts into there, because it also require our efforts to build it for a specific chain, and that will maybe help us increase our runway a bit or give us more leeway into building for different chains. But it's more product first and then chain second.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you're already thinking about this, but you saying Barachain so many times and Nest so many times, I think there's a real product opportunity for you guys to create like Nest layer, but for Barachain, because
Yeah,
I've been looking at the data. Like, a lot of inflows have come into Barachain, and everyone's like
yeah,
farming these yield opportunities. I think
yeah.
Smokey and the team have created this unique place where DeFi summer is almost back. I think
Mhm.
it still needs, and Smokey is stopping projects. Like, he's not stopping it, but he's telling projects to not launch tokens right now. But we will have a better alt season, which will kickstart like DeFi summer back again on Better Chain.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
is that also a consideration? Like, you looking at data, looking at where things are going, and then telling the team like, hey, maybe let's do this on Better Chain, or let's do
Yeah,
this on
I
Sui.
think as of now, what we've realized is like with our studio, the focus should always be building where consumers are going towards. And currently, if we feel that okay, vibes and memes are still hot, and I mean all the chains will eventually have meme coin, then maybe we want to scale vibes first and Nestle second, because in the end, it's all about putting our efforts into where we get more ROI. So as of now, I think the idea will be to keep pitching on vibes to different chains and like first showcase that okay, this works on Solana, this can work on any chain. And now we kind of go to Smokey, go to any of the products, and they say okay, we build it for you. And the advantage we have is the app is live. Like we have the app on Google, we have the it is global distributed, we have the Testlight app, and App Store should come soon. So having that kind of distribution, having that because I mean, to be very frank, my understanding of launching an app was very different from what it has been. It's a very hard journey for a crypto app to go on App Store or Play Store also. So we spent a lot of time and effort into making sure that the app goes there and stays live and solving all the legal hurdles around that. So that itself is a moat for us. And now let's say if we go to Berachain, okay, Berachain, we have an app which is live on Solana. We can use the same app and give it to Bera people also. They just have to flip a switch. So that becomes a very good case for them also to take us seriously, that okay, these guys actually have an app which is already live on Google Play or Apple, and they can just get users in. So I think that will be our focus initially, to make sure our app stays there, and we can then go to different chains and solve for their problems. I still have a very I'm still not convinced on DeFi summer coming back, or DeFi summer coming in a very long term way. It may be like a 2 months, 3 months thing, but I'm still bullish on meme coins. And having seen meme coins going up and down, I daily go on Dune dashboard, check the volumes for BullX, GMGN. It's still in billions. I mean, if you see 20,000 people trading memes daily, and which is just like the tip of the iceberg right now. Like I actually was in Bhutan last week, and people had of three things over there: BTC, Pi token for some reason, and meme coins, which is Trump and other meme coins. So if general normie people have heard about meme coins, there is a big room for us to grow from there, and our marketing will also be towards this normies and not crypto Twitter per se.
100%. And it's one of the main reasons, right? Like why people own less and less of Bitcoin, and they're just more interested in these moonshots. And
Yeah,
people are still in the trenches. People are still grinding. You mentioned that creating products for different chains. When you have now, right now you have two. In future, you may have so many more, and you have
yeah,
a big team. How do you and in general venture studios prioritize different projects at
yeah.
different cycles? And when you kind of make sure that this is the right time for this is the right time for this, how do you guys just prioritize in general?
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, it's some part maybe just taking a risk. It's okay taking a call that okay maybe this is the one we want to build right now because it's limited bandwidth. We have a four-member team which is heavy on tech, and they are like superstar tech developer, but still like they can only do so much. So the idea always comes down to constraint of team and what we can build out of it. So if we can build a bigger team, then obviously we can look at two, three products at the same time. But with the small team, we want to focus on one product and do it perfectly in the perfect way, which potentially might have the highest ROI. So we think when we prioritize based on ROI, that okay, this is the expected market expected returns out of it, and this is the constraint we have. So we prioritize based on like what we have right now, what we think the market will move towards, and how and when can we get it live by. Like if we start building a L1, it will take us 6 months to 1 year. But if we start building consumer app and consumer tech, it will take potentially 2 months for us. So based on that, we also can take a call. So
I
currently
see.
also we when we pitched the studio also, we went with a pipeline of four products. So as of now, two are kind of live and two more are coming, but we still at one time we focus on one because of the team constraint. Once we are able to kind of generate a solid revenue stream, then we can think of two at the same time or three at the same time. But as of now, it's one at a time, one at one time.
And I had a question because, in general, does power law apply to venture studios as well, where majority of your returns come from one, two, or three
Yeah.
projects, right? Is it like, or is it because you guys are experimenting and you're failing fast and you're kind of creating tons of products? You don't have that 10-year horizon maybe. Does it apply for the venture studios, or does it differ when it comes to just returns? Because the
Yeah.
survival rate is probably much higher than traditional
Yeah,
VC.
yeah. I think that's a very good question, and it depends on what is your expectation. That if you are building a startup as a founder, if you are taking that much risk, then you expect it to become a billion-dollar company. But for a venture studio, we can still go for okay, this product might not be a billion-dollar company, but it can give us a revenue of 1 million ARR, which is actually good because that can help us sustain and keep the wheel churning for us. So in that way, maybe the hit rate for billion-dollar company would just be 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20, but we can still keep on churning business which are generating ARR good enough for us to keep the ball rolling. So in the number of venture studio I've talked to three four of them, all of them are the same thing. Okay, can it give me enough returns for me so that I can build another company out of it using the same money so that I don't have to go out and fundraise again. So typically venture studios allow that flexibility because you are not giving up so much equity in the company, and you are actually building with the same team. So in a way you can look for ideas which are not moonshot, but who can actually are very boring business but they can give you sustainable revenue. So that can help. I mean, we are not that stage right now, but eventually we want to get to that stage as well.
Crypto needs a lot more boring businesses.
Yeah, man, agree.
Yeah. You mentioned you talked to like two or three more venture
Yeah,
studios. Can you name some venture studios for the
yeah,
listeners to reference?
yeah. So I'll actually talk to four or five of them. Two of them I really like. One is Anagram, which is Lily Lewis and Solana kind of they don't do Solana only, but they are actually Solana, but they have a massive team. Or I think they have a 20-30 member team which only focus on building products. That one is you have not seen products coming out of them a lot, but you won't, because the products they spin it off very fast, and their model is they kind of they bet on founders. They take okay, this person was ex Naspers, he can build payment model, so give him like 1 year of salary and ask him to just build, like do a weekly call with them, and then eventually we jam and we build a product out of it. And they have a basic tech team to solve everything for you. And that is one good venture studio. Second one is Nomad, which is very Not heard of a lot, but this is like Eric Zhang, who was ex Binance listing head. He has his Nomad Capital Fund, and he has a venture studio also, which I don't think he has a name for it, but it's like a 30-member team over there, and they are building products left, right, center. They have like 30-member team. They are in staking, restaking. They are in building this Biddle pad that you saw where Solar went live. They are also behind that, and there are three, four ideas they're working on. But they work as a co-founder. They work as a third co-founder basically. They have two co-founders working, and then they act as a third co-founder. So that's also interesting. That's the model, Adam. We are modeling around because we actually want to become the third co-founder for you, and we set up everything for you. So these two are actually, in my view, who are good. If someone is looking to work over there, get experience in venture studio, these two are good, and obviously Nest Studio is the up and coming one.
Got it. For everyone listening in, like another model that I've seen venture studios spin out of is you'll have two or three devs who are building stuff and they'll sort of go on this grant hunting route. Eventually, they'll realize that tech talent is very scarce in crypto and good tech talent is scarce. So, if an ecosystem is ready to give you a grant, people are probably ready to commission you for certain things as well. And so they start off with this basic dev shop, two, three people, maybe they'll hire a couple of interns and then they'll start doing service work. And then once they have like this bedrock of revenue, then they'll start experimenting on their own things. And then you're like, okay, I'll give a shout out, like shout out Rahul, he's building Scalerize. He
Yeah,
started off as like this dev shop called Aries Labs, and now he's sort of come out of it. He has someone handling that completely, and he's focused on Scalerize. So that's also an instance of a proxy venture studio, I'd say. um I think it's really interesting, Sumit, the way that you talk about like different products spinning out, and iteration times being quick. I think problems with some narratives, like okay, like social fi, for instance, like Frentech was there for 9 months and then it died. If there's argument around if Racer would have stuck around, it probably would have stuck around. There's also other social fi apps like Yapster, and a lot of these KG. I remember KG just sending me stuff and being like, ape this, ape that, and I was like, okay,
Let's
it used to
let's
die.
just
Like, which
let's
one?
just
Oh yeah,
mention.
that's mentioned. Yeah. So do you think venture studios are perfectly placed to sort of fuck around and find out like these niche
yeah.
verticals? Then you probably see one thing come out and then everyone's interested in that narrative.
Yeah. I mean, see, in my view, and I think running behind narratives will only lead to kind of, death spirals, because narratives are very short term, and eventually venture studio and product needs to find, I mean, we need to go back to Web2 roots, which is, okay, is there a problem? Will this product fix this problem? And how big is this problem? So the answer lies there. And personally, I don't think we should run behind narrative. And even as a venture studio, the thinking is like why vibes is also because meme becomes entry point for a lot of normies. Like people who don't own BTC, they own Pepe or they own Trump also because they've heard about it, right? So that becomes, if you're building crypto and if you're not building in memes, then you're not that much consumer focused, in my view. Again, if you're building wallet, that's brilliant, but there's so many wallets which are very good, like Phantom and now Family, amazing wallets that they've built. I think that space is more or less kind of very good UI have come over there, and they're very very good distribution. The second space which I like in crypto is stablecoin, which requires you to have like a different license as a regulated route. And third, semi-open space is the meme coin space, which is why you see so many apps coming out of meme coins, because the market is so huge. It's not been tapped, man. I mean, the journey of people buying meme coins is still very trash. It's still very broken. If you are able to solve for that, that's a very big thing. And rather than following narratives, you should look for, okay, these are the problems that I want to go into. And I think venture studio model helps over there because you can have a broader view rather than a very short term view. And that also, kind of being in VC, you get advantage of that because you see pitch decks coming from left, right, center through your venture team. And then you're able to talk to them and realize, okay, what's happening right now? Where are we heading towards? Is it the same thing happening again and again, or is it something new coming across? So that gives you a broader understanding of where market is heading towards and where are we going towards. So I think venture studio with a venture capital kind of anchor investor or a backer really helps and support you. And then you can fuck around, found out on this space. And
Got
once
it.
you build a very generic tech, you can actually add on top of it.
Got it.
And
So sorry,
I have a
KG, let
question.
me so basically what you're saying is even though narrative hunting is good and that's something that you will want to optimize for short term, a founder of a venture studio still needs to have a holistic view and needs to have a thesis on what works in 1 year's time, and they need to
Yeah.
prioritize accordingly. Okay.
Yeah, because the narrative changes in every 3 weeks, some new narrative comes, and especially in this market when people are just looking for making money in the short term. So they are not. I mean, all the narratives of like L2s has gone, airdrops have gone, came and gone. Social fi actually in a different way, shape and form went and gone ahead. So I think you need to have like you can do grant hunting with the narrative, which is important if you're building that kind of venture studio, but not for building a sustainable business, I would say.
And do you think, from a founder perspective, because you're working at a venture studio, does that give them an edge to have these insights over the market? Where you, let's say, you have 10 founders work in event participating in the venture studio, and they're building different things, and they learn through osmosis, and like they have different views. Whereas you're
Yeah.
building in a traditional way, you won't have that edge.
I would say 100% it gives an edge, but the edge is only limited to knowing what's happening in the market. It's more knowledge edge that you get. Okay, what is happening in the market? What is getting funded? What is the investors' mind into? What is retail thinking about? Because you get that kind of VC is you get early signals. So it's more getting signals early on. I think that really helps as a venture studio because since we are linked to VC, we actually get to see what's happening in the VC world also. So definitely gives an edge. But if you are a good founder, which is who has a good network, I think that really solves for that also because you actually eventually know what's working, what's not working.
Got it. I think the edge part you talked about, KG, I think that's applicable for like a lot of fields. Like at Scribe also, like working at a marketing agency, you're at the center
Yeah,
of so many different projects and you're able to see. I think the transition from being in a place of, okay, I'm at the center of this, I understand the space, I can see the gaps, to then actually building a product, like there's a hiring gap there, or like there's a
yeah,
team
yeah.
building gap there. So we talk to us about like how did you find your team, or like what are the skill
Oh my,
sets that you were looking for? How was that
yeah.
hiring process and finding talent process
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you?
yeah. That's a very interesting journey we had because we had wrong hires also early on, but the idea was always okay. Let's keep it very short because we want to kind of limit the monthly burn rate. So that was our target. Okay, let's keep the monthly burn rate as low as possible, motivate the team in the right way, and then build a team of generalists rather than for specific products, which I had touched upon earlier also. So our hiring journey was through our CTO, through our team. We wanted to hire for talent which is more who have worked in Web 2, who have interest in Web 3, but they might not have experience in Web 3. But that is something we can teach. And third thing was eventually, are they flexible? I mean, are they kind of are they self motivated? Because that is the hardest part, especially in crypto. When you meet people, they are in crypto. You need motivation. I mean, you can't work in crypto and not have motivation, basically because crypto is a very fickle industry. It comes and goes like this. So you need to think of crypto as okay, is this long lasting? Is it something where I learn something new and where I can build something new also? So we had our own sets of learning over there. We hired someone who worked for 1 month and kind of went to a different company. We hired someone who didn't even join. We actually came across a very interesting talent who was ex Telegram, but he wanted a large piece of equity which we were not comfortable with also. So that managing and that learning itself, like hiring is the founder's main job, hiring and setting culture. I think apart from that, found like currently my team, I more of act as someone who just gives a vision of like, "Okay, this is what we want to do in 2 years, and you need to find execution, like people who can execute for you." So that is what the team is I have right now, people who actually don't mind getting their hands dirty, don't mind, don't feel like okay, this is not my job and I should not do it. So, and I think that's very common for any startup. But for venture studio, the only different thing was we wanted to hire generalists. We wanted to hire people who come from a very broad experience rather than a very narrow experience, so that they can build things. Because narrow experience is easy to, like, you talk to two people, and again that's the advantage of having a VC background, because easily you can connect to the right team. That okay, dude, I've hired this guy. He needs some understanding on how Solana lending works. So can you talk to him? So I can directly go to like a D-Bridge founder and say, okay, just have a call with him, and 30 minutes you can just explain him. So that advantage kind of helps us also. So and talent, as you said, like talent is the biggest thing that can make or break a company. And our hiring is very cautious. go through a very detailed step of I think 3 or 4 rounds that we have, in which like I also talk in a non-tech way, then tech team talks in a tech way, then try to meet people also in person, try to understand their motivation and why they want to do it. Because I lay everything flat. Like when I was talking to Rachit also earlier, I told, okay, this is the idea, this is what we want to do. It might fail. This is how the failure looks like. This is how the success looks like. Are you in or out? And then we have a conversation. So I think putting,
Yeah,
like, my style has always been being oversharing rather than undersharing, and giving everything okay on top of it. Okay, this is how it works. If you are in, go. It's good. If you're not, that's also good.
makes sense. That was super insightful, and I think we're on time. Sumit, at the end of our each episode, we usually
Yeah,
clip this out for all our listeners.
yeah.
What is one advice, the number one advice you would give to someone, let's say they're 25, 22 years old, or someone just want to build a venture studio? What's the number one advice you would give them right now?
I think the number one advice that I would actually give myself when I was 25, 26, and to someone who is new, is just to follow your heart. I mean, your gut actually knows what's good for you, and just follow that. And the path will be hard. There's no journey which is easy. You just have to do things that you enjoy doing. I mean, rather than doing because it might give you money, that might lead to failure. But something that you enjoy doing already, something that you have fun with it. Like, I would always say prefer fun and good people versus money or other things which you don't like.
Do you have any advice for someone who is struggling between, do I dedicate my efforts on one product versus starting a venture studio? How they should think about,
Yeah.
doubling down on one thing versus starting a venture studio?
I would say keep it organic. Don't try to force it. If you were to become venture studio, you will eventually find a product which actually is scalable. And I would still say venture studio should come later. First, the product and distribution needs to be solved for. So either solve for one thing, either solve for very good tech, solve for very good distribution. If you have these one of these to figure out, then you can actually keep adding more and more things on top of it.
Amazing. I think that was amazing. I mean, close it out. Thank you so much, Sumit. That was
Thank
awesome.
you, man. I mean, very interesting question and great conversation with you both. And let me know if anything needed from my side along the way also. And looking forward to getting it live.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Amit.